Jeff is the Executive Director of the Metal Construction Association. As we all know, metal systems are becoming part of more project conversations here in the roofing space. So we're going to be discussing common misconceptions and resources that MCA provides to roofing contractors just like you. Hey, Jeff, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Jonathan. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, after our just amazing interview with Renee over at Metal Roofing Alliance, I knew that we had to have you on and, just continue to go down the path of all the different ways that roofing contractors that follow us can, expand their opportunities. And with that, maybe we should just start with what does MCA do?
Well, MCA is a trade group that represents the manufacturers and the suppliers for the architectural metal roofing and wall industry. So the majority of our members are either panel fabricators or manufacturers, or the material suppliers, the steel mills, the paint companies, etc., that flow into those products. And then we also have a small base of contractors in membership.
Excellent. And
And our
so,
role, of
yeah.
course, is to promote the use of metal roofing and wall products in the building envelope.
Excellent. And so for those that focus entirely on roofing or, vast majority, what are some of the resources or what they should pay attention to within MCA?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, we're advancing or promoting the use of metal in the building envelope. And on the roofing side, we have um, yeah, tens of technical documents and resources available on our website, metalconstruction.org. So all those are available to the general public and contractors for their use, and they cover everything from best practices in the use of metal in roofing systems to technical documents, specifications, EPD documents, and a lot of training installation documents as well. So, we are everything metal roofing, and we like to be the resource for that. And I'd encourage contractors to visit our site to learn what's all there and available for their use.
And since we're, just talking here, what are some common misunderstandings about metal roofing and maybe even wall panel systems?
Well, I think some of the biggest misunderstandings are, I'm sure Renee may have touched on some of this, is things like noise and, metal is prone to lightning strikes, and all those things are not true. They're no different than any other roofing system product is when it comes to lightning, and from a noise perspective, it's no different than any other material. There's also, I think, where metal has an advantage, though, is it's really a lifelong product, right? So if you put a quality metal roof on your building and it's installed, through a quality process, it will last the entire length, the serviceable life of that building and that structure. So I think the misperception is that metal can be expensive, but when you look at it from a life cycle perspective, it turns out to be a great investment for the building owner and for the contractor.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a lot more focus on that. Even contractors that started with roof coatings because it's easier to get going. Less technical skill and some other advantages. They're moving into standing seam metal. There's a lot of demand, even though we're seeing some challenges, in the economy with the money side of things.
Yeah, and so you know it can be true. Again, and it depends on what market we're talking about. That there may be a bit more of an initial investment up front, but again, done properly, that roof is going to last, the entire lifetime of that building. So, and it's important though that the job's done well. So when we talk about what people need to understand about metal, it's one, use a quality product, quality paint finish, but probably even more importantly is be sure you have a quality install and it's done properly. And that'll save the contractor as far as having to do returns and and corrections to the original job. Um, and he can move on then with a highly satisfied customer and get referrals for his next project.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So as far as like opportunities, ways they can grow, anything that comes to mind in cross marketing or ways to sell better, what are some tips for our contractors?
And I think we've touched on it a little bit here again. You're looking at from a sales perspective, from a lifetime value perspective, from a sustainability messaging. Metal performs very well. Yeah, again, from a life cycle, cradle to cradle perspective, resiliency. There's a lot of attributes. Metal is, by itself is fire resistant. It leads to it's also got much higher wind value ratings than a lot of other building systems. So there are just a lot of positive factors with respect to the metal. It also, depending upon the market, again, it can also provide higher margins for a lot of contractors. So if they're looking to expand their margins, metal might be a smart move for them as well, that they at least include it in their portfolio mix.
Yeah. So as far as just getting into the space, I mean, what are some like for someone that's never even thought about doing this, but they've been turning down projects or they've lost projects because um, they aren't able to speak intelligently about it, to sell properly, or maybe they never even thought that they should get into it. I mean, what are some of the initial first steps?
Well, I think one of the key first steps is getting aligned with a quality panel manufacturer, right? So, be it, we have a few dozen in membership. There are many nationwide, but be sure that you're aligned with the manufacturer who provides quality panels, both in terms of the substrates and the paint finishes that are on them, and get to know their details regarding edge trims and connections, all that kind of stuff. It's one of the nuances about metal is we have many manufacturers, as I mentioned, and all of them have their own specifications for details. So you have to get to understand them. If you're using manufacturer A's panel, you don't necessarily, you can't use the same details for on a manufacturer B product. So you have to understand uh, those things that are unique to that manufacturer's system. And then, as I alluded to earlier, understand the proper install techniques and take the time to be sure that you do the job right.
Yeah, definitely the most important step. And I'm going to throw just a little bit of a curveball. I was going to talk about this a little bit off camera, but I was going through your website and I saw you have a pretty exciting convention coming up. Do it every year. It looks like October for 2026.
Yeah, MetalCon is everything metal. It's the only trade show in the country dedicated exclusively to the use of metal in the built environment. And we're looking forward to being in Orlando in October. Florida obviously is a huge market for metal roofing, and we're I think our last visit there was in Tampa a few years ago. The show has outgrown that space, so it's as metal has become more popular, our show has grown, and I'd encourage everybody if they're available to make the trip, set aside the time, and show up in Orlando, uh, you know, to learn more about the use of metal roofing products.
Yeah, I was really impressed that you have a couple hundred vendors, come up to be part of that show. And it's always good to know, what's happening in the industry and new tools to advance whatever stage you're at. But Jeff, it's been a real pleasure, having you here today and sharing these insights with our audience. And yeah, I highly recommend everyone to go check out his website. It's, underneath his video feed there. And always feel free to reach out if we can do anything else.
Appreciate it, Jonathan. Thanks for the opportunity. Have a great day.